Hello and welcome to the 14th Scouching Report for the 2020 NHL Draft. Today we're going to be looking at Salavat Yulaev and Tolpar Ufa forward Rodion Amirov. Amirov is ranked 5th amongst European skaters in the National Hockey League Central Scouting ranking. And frankly, I think he's a player who's quietly flown under the radar all season long, likely due to a bit of a lack of production when he played big minutes in the KHL this year. But I think that if Rodion Amirov is a player that starts slipping a little bit in this year's draft, he could be a real steal for a team in the later half of the first round, especially if they're willing to be patient with the uncertain future of Russian players in the KHL moving forward. A quick note before we get into dissecting Rodion Amirov's game: I tracked 7 games just like I do for every other player, but 2 of the games were in the MHL, 4 of the games were in the KHL, and 1 was a VHL playoff game before the season was cancelled. He didn't play a tremendous amount in the VHL, he played quite a bit in the MHL, but was kind of expected to be a premier player there, and I tried to get as much KHL footage as I could of him over the course of the full season because it's the KHL. So if you've never seen a Scouching Report before, the way that we look at a player is we look at 5 categories: think, move, get, pass, and shoot. Within each one of these categories, we give them a number and a letter grade, where the number from 1 to 4, with 1 being the highest, indicates the overall tier of talent that I saw across the 7 games I tracked, and the letter indicates the overall consistency I saw within those tiers. To get started, we look at the think category, and this is a really good part of Rodion Amirov's game to work with. He's a really well-refined and efficient thinker at both ends of the ice, and especially so in the offensive zone. All over the ice, he's more of a supporter of teammates, waiting for loose pucks rather than engaging physically to try to dig for loose pucks from there. But I think that that's a perfectly reasonable usage of his skill set. He's really mobile, and I think that it's smart for him to stay in open ice because he can make play very dangerous very quickly. He anticipates play really well in all areas of the ice, he closes gaps on forecheckers really effectively, and in the offensive zone especially, he's constantly buzzing around looking for open space and dangerous shot attempts from medium danger areas. And it really felt that most of the time, Rodion Amirov was really focused on primarily pushing play positively. In his own end, he rarely abandoned his defensive coverages, covered passing lanes really well, didn't over-anticipate breakouts, jumping into the neutral zone, chasing for offense, and really impressively knew how to use his teammates effectively. He was a very unselfish player when trying to get breakouts going in his own zone. If he couldn't get something going on his own, he'd use his agility to find open space and get the puck to a teammate who could maybe find a better avenue up the ice. Or he would just move the puck into the neutral zone himself, either with his feet or with his passing, which was pretty remarkable as well. And on that note, Rodion Amirov showed a clear preference for controlled offensive zone transitions, which is something that I am absolutely looking for. 74.2% of the time, offensive zone transitions were done with control. And you might say, hey Will, what if it was just him not playing in the KHL that was boosting those numbers? No, 75% of the time in KHL only tracking, he managed to maintain control offensively when making zone transitions. So in the think category, I'm giving Rodion Amirov a 1C. It wasn't always there, but he is a really well-refined thinker of the game, to say the least. He anticipates play well, especially away from the puck. He's constantly searching for open ice at all areas of the ice. He gets controlled offensive transitions extremely well, and in the offensive zone, he's constantly looking to create dangerous chances for himself, whether it's away from the puck or with his stick handling to get into dangerous areas. There's a lot to like here for him in this category for sure. On the downside, he does need to get a little bit stronger, and he could get pinned pretty easily against the boards, especially in the KHL. Now that might be because it is the KHL, but that is something to note if he is going to be as effective, especially in the offensive zone moving forward. And I will say in the MHL, it felt like he was a little bit unfocused and kind of knew he was better than everyone. He was kind of punching below his weight class in that league and trying to gain a little bit of confidence after not scoring a ton in the KHL. And while he did show a little bit of weakness in this category in the KHL, especially when it came to playing under pressure, his results in that league are still pretty spectacular for a player his age. Next we go to the move category, and this is another good one for Rodion Amirov. He's an extremely fluid and agile skater, especially on his edges. He kind of lacks a real high-end top gear that can really burn up the ice, but he makes up for it more than enough with his agility and his footwork and his ability to maintain possession of the puck with a really wide stance and really good skill. His ability to spin and pivot off defenders in the offensive zone down low is really pro level. It was impressive to watch him spin off KHL defenders more often than not. So while he may be a little bit slim on his frame, and when he does get pinned under pressure, he might lose possession of the puck, he can be a hard person to keep up with and a hard player to pin against the boards in the first place considering how agile he is. He powerfully uses his edges to make strong cuts all over the ice to continuously find open areas of the ice. And in the offensive zone, his ability to find open ice and look for shooting opportunities was really second to none. He really felt like a no BS type player, just looking for open ice, waiting for a shot attempt, and getting dangerous chances for himself. He's a player that, in my opinion, kind of bursts around the ice in short spurts of speed rather than having a really high gear that he constantly is employing around the ice like quite a few young players. But when you combine that with the really good skill that I saw in him, there's a lot to like for him in this category. So in the move category, I'm giving Rodion Amirov a 1B. The only thing I really would say he didn't showcase was that real high-end top speed to be one of the fastest in the draft. But his edge work, his ability to get low to the ice and maintain possession of the puck under pressure, his skill and his agility and his explosiveness were all there. He was a really special talent in that area. And I would say that I would like to see him use his agility and his skill a little bit more effectively to push deeper into the offensive zone and look for more dangerous offensive chances. I saw him stop up at the blue line a little bit too much, take a quick survey of the ice and move the puck across the blue line to a teammate on the other side of the ice. That's something that you do see in the National Hockey League, but I do think that with the talent that he has, he could be a much more threatening offensive player if he plays with a little bit more confidence over time. He can really outwork and outskate players deep in the corners of the offensive zone, which is something that, in my opinion, North American coaches really do look for. And being able to generate the explosiveness that he generates could really help him take advantage of potentially bigger and slower opponents at high levels of play. So with more training and experience as a puck handler and aggressive offensive player, he certainly has all of the tools to become a very nasty player at the next level. Next we go to the get category, and it's pretty simple here for him. He's a player that certainly relies on his smarts rather than his physicality to get pucks back when he's away from the puck. He positions himself on breakouts and stopped plenty of transitions in the neutral zone, and he has the explosiveness to chase down loose pucks and has the brain to know when to strike and how. And that explosiveness and his work ethic can go a long way to helping him retrieve more loose pucks and win those puck battles along the boards and beat other players to the puck first. He can get physical along the boards, but rather than pin players against the boards and slow play right down, he usually was a player who would maneuver his body to get in the way of defenders and spin off of them to create separation between the player and the puck and make a quick read and a quick play from there. I find that particularly enticing. Amirov was able to find quick and sneaky little ways to get involved physically without really getting involved physically. He was a very efficient physical player when he decided to get physical, and that's something that really goes back to his overall intelligent, patient mindset around the game. On the downside, there was a general inconsistency here. He could lose track of defenders defensively. He does need to gain a bit of strength, especially when things get collapsed in deep around his own net. He wasn't really doing a tremendous amount in front of his own net when things would collapse a little bit. He wasn't really pushing forecheckers out of the way to separate them from the puck and the goalie. But again, that's not really his brand of play, and especially as a winger, his responsibilities aren't necessarily that important in that area. So in the get category, I give Rodion Amirov a 1D. He will need to get stronger on his frame, he will need to get a little bit more physically assertive more often, and getting even quicker with his decision making certainly will help him start breakouts more effectively. He was prone to getting mitigated and pinned against the boards a little bit too easily from time to time, but with some more strength, his work ethic and skating should do more than enough to make up for that. So overall, just being more consistent in his own end, playing with plenty of determination and using his best skills to his advantage will take him a long way to being a good two-way player with really interesting offensive upside. At the very least, this is a guy that you can park in open ice, allow your more physical line mates to chase pucks down, grind play down, get pucks to Rodion Amirov, and he's off to the races in open ice. That's something that I think is perfectly reasonable for him, but he is going to need to get more physically active and more strong on his feet a little bit more often if he's going to be a success in the National Hockey League. Next, we go to the pass category, and with Rodion Amirov, this is a fascinating category to look at. Of all of the forwards I've tracked, he is the only one to cross 80% pass completion percentage. That is an outstanding figure for any player regardless of the position you play, and especially so for a player where over half of the games I tracked were in the KHL. Per 60 minutes, he completed 59.88 passes. That is the best of all profiled professional forwards we've looked at this year by 15%. But I came away thinking Rodion Amirov wasn't necessarily a playmaker, but rather more of a field general type. He wasn't really pushing too deep offensively looking for dangerous pass attempts, but he did do it from time to time. He was more of a guy that in transition, if a rush wasn't really presented to him with the puck on his own stick, he would find a teammate and just get the puck to him. He could go to his defenders or his center or his cross-ice winger really effectively, and he was really able to make those passes connect at a tremendously high rate. Offensively, he was great at sustaining cycles, and I think that with more experience and confidence, he'll be able to put more passes into dangerous areas because that was an area that was a little bit lacking for him. So his playmaking upside might be a little limited without more confidence and attacking mentality in the offensive end, but as a passer around the ice, he was very effective, relatively conservative, but very, very reliable. And his agility and skill also allowed him to separate himself from defenders very quickly to make a really quick pass attempt that is much easier to complete than, say, having to pass it through a defender's skates or through his stick. And Amirov showed that his skating and his skill is able to separate him from defenders so that he can get an easier and more clear passing option to go to his teammates. Changing the angle at which your stick faces the player you're targeting with your pass can make a pretty big difference. And Amirov could make quick cuts around the ice, quick little moves with his hands that really made moving the puck around a lot more efficient. So overall in this category, I'm giving Rodion Amirov a 2A. I don't really know that he's going to be a premier high-level playmaker in the National Hockey League one day. It was not particularly evident in the KHL that he was that player in that league. He was much more of a play facilitator, using teammates effectively and moving pucks with a lot of efficiency. There isn't a lot of flash in this category, but that doesn't mean that there isn't potential for it. I think he could be a very interesting playmaker down the road if he gets more assertive and confident offensively. But to me, there's nothing wrong with really great play facilitating skilled wingers who can just make play move positively. And when he completed his passes, he got right back down to business, looking for open ice, especially in dangerous areas, waiting for a shot attempt and continuously finding open ice. He can take a little bit too long to make his passing decisions, and he could get pinned along the boards from taking too long to make those decisions. He could make passes that would go straight to his opponents from time to time or pass them right into no man's land, but that was relatively rare considering the overall quantity of passes that he was not only attempting but completing. Finally, we look at the shoot category, and this is pretty much more of the same with Rodion Amirov. He constantly looks for open ice in the offensive zone, looking for shot attempts from not just low danger areas, but medium danger areas especially. While just 55% of his shot attempts came from high and medium danger areas, 4 of the 7 games I tracked were in the KHL, and he managed to have 11.8 medium danger shot attempts per 60 minutes at 5-on-5. That is second among all players I've profiled so far, next to Lukas Reichel, and it beats a player like Tim Stützle by 59%. He can get shots off quickly, but if there's a rebound that squirts out to somewhere on the ice, he has all the explosivity and determination in the world to get to that loose puck and make a quick pass to his defenders, or wrap it around the back of the net, or just take another shot from wherever on the ice that he may be. He is also more than willing to be very patient with the puck entering the offensive zone. I find that a lot of forwards will just enter the offensive zone and lob pucks on the goaltender from basically inside the blue line. Amirov has the skill and the patience and the agility to weave around in the offensive zone looking for more dangerous opportunities. So in the shoot category, I'm giving Amirov a 1C. Getting more confident and pushing to more dangerous areas more often, especially high danger areas, will take Amirov a long way. There is going to need to be some time for him to learn how to do that more effectively, learn how to control pucks at that high a level to actually navigate that really tight area of the ice. But his shot is certainly good, and he's not afraid to use it from dangerous areas around the ice. So to wrap these videos up, we look at the best part of a player's game, the good part of a player's game, and the not so good part of a player's game. The best part of Rodion Amirov's game is his skating. It is really remarkable, especially on his edges and with how explosive he can be in his first few steps. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but I don't think he really needs to be the fastest guy with the skill and agility that he has. He can pivot and adapt quickly to whatever's presented to him. He can maintain possession really effectively and continue to push play positively. The good part of his game is his overall smarts and intelligence around the ice. Yes, he might not be the most physically engaging player, but I think that that's mostly because he doesn't have to be. He's a really smart player who stays in open ice, keeps finding more open ice to stand in to anticipate breakouts, can make really quick plays that maintain possession, whether it's moving pucks up the ice with control on his own stick, or finding a teammate quickly who can do the same himself, or moving pucks into the neutral zone, maintaining control with his really good passing ability. He's constantly facilitating play along the wings all over the ice. It's really, really impressive. He's unselfish, but he also has the capability of being a selfish player in the best way. And defensively, he often seems very intelligent when it comes to choosing his spots to strike at forecheckers. He may not pin them against the boards immediately, but he can strip them of the puck really effectively either with his body or with his stick, and I think that's a really nice package to work with. The not so good part kind of stems from his overall lack of production in the KHL, which sounds really nitpicky, but a little bit more strength on his frame will certainly help him evade pressure more effectively, and some more agility and confidence, especially in the offensive zone, could help him drive more dangerous offensive opportunities. He wasn't generating a lot of high danger shot attempts for himself. He wasn't generating a lot of high danger pass attempts for himself. He was much more of a play facilitator who had the capability of getting medium danger shot attempts, especially when he's away from the puck in the offensive zone and finding open space for himself to get those medium danger shot attempts. If he can gain a little bit more in his toolbox to be able to find open space in those dangerous areas and navigate around them to create even more dangerous opportunities for himself, he could be a really filthy goal scorer in the National Hockey League. But you really do have to constantly remind yourself that this is an 18-year-old kid playing pretty good minutes in a pretty good program in arguably the best non-North American professional league. And his results indicate clearly that he is driving play extremely well for a player that plays most of his time in the KHL. So overall, I'm giving Rodion Amirov a 1C. I came away very impressed with just how rock solid he is in all areas of the ice. He's very, very intelligent without really needing to overcommit physically to grind play down, especially in his own end. He's an all-around offensive player, and with a little bit of strength and a little bit of refinement in the defensive end, he could be a really interesting two-way player in the National Hockey League down the road with some nice offensive skill and upside. He gets plenty of shot attempts from high danger areas, and if he can turn more of those low danger attempts that he took into medium and high danger attempts, he could be a devastating goal scorer down the road. He can facilitate play in the neutral zone, in the defensive zone, and the offensive zone perfectly well, maintain offensive cycles, capitalize when defensive cycles get broken down, move pucks up the ice with tremendous amounts of control, and complete tremendous amounts of passing. So unlocking his playmaking potential and allowing him to be more confident and assertive, especially in the offensive zone, could turn him into a really dynamic offensive force. But he could just as easily make a great living as a very reliable transition player who facilitates play for everyone else he's playing with on the ice. He doesn't make poor decisions, especially with the puck, a tremendous amount of time. He completes passes at an extremely high rate, and he gained transitions offensively really, really well. And I think you can never have too many players like that on any hockey team's roster. And a few years down the road, if you're patient and things break right, I think he has all the potential in the world to be a premier, exciting offensive forward who's competent in his own end, with tons of ability to make fans really excited to watch him play hockey and score goals in the National Hockey League. And I think it really comes down to getting some more strength on his frame and to be a bit riskier and more assertive with his play in the offensive zone. I think there's a lot to like with Rodion Amirov, even if he doesn't turn into what he could be. So that's it for this Scouching Report. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, you can click all the buttons you see below me so you never miss another one. If you really liked it, you could subscribe on Patreon, where you get access to a Discord server, data sheets for hundreds of drafted and undrafted prospects, private data visualizations, as well as plenty of other goodies. Or you could pick up some merchandise at the Scouchwear shop, where 50% of profits go to the Women's Sports Foundation. So that's it, and thanks for watching.